When did we stop dancing? Our pagan ancestors across Europe danced like wild men and women all the time. At festivals, before war, at athletic competitions, they danced as a prayer. They danced as a celebration of life. They danced through grief. But today, dancing is just something that weird people do, or that girls do, or that you do after you get 4 or 5 drinks in you and you just kind of tap your foot. We're one of the most repressed and stifled peoples of all of history. In fact, Nietzsche saw this coming. Friedrich Nietzsche was a prolific philosopher of the 19th century, and he sought to elevate that which makes man most healthy and spiritually alive. It's no wonder that dance was central in his philosophy and way of thinking, and most people overlook this. He said, quote, "And let that day be lost to us, on which we did not dance once, and let that wisdom be false to us, that brought no laughter with it." Since the Middle Ages, basically, Christianity and rationalism and the Enlightenment created this culture of repression. We look at dance, it became something very formal, something you did at a ball with a suit and a tie on, and you followed some step-by-step formula. And now today, most people don't dance. They scoff at dancing. It's something feminine, or it's something gay, or it's something they don't understand. But dancing is the most wild embodiment of being alive possible. And it is the artistic expression of being in motion, and we have forgotten how to do it. I just went to a String Cheese Incident jam band concert at Red Rocks for the first time ever. They have this huge, dance following. And me and my friends from the dance community were just getting it at it up front for like 2 hours straight, being in this trance of celebration, of music, of community. And I look around and a lot of people were smiling, looking at us, getting at it themselves. But of the hundreds in the crowd, maybe 5% were really moving. And looking at the crowd of people kind of locked up and tapping their foot reminded me of a Nietzsche quote that goes, "And those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music." This quote reflects the idea that as a society, we have become disconnected from the passionate engagement with life. We are no longer a part of nature, a part of music. We are a spectator of it. And this gets into Nietzsche's idea of the Apollonian versus the Dionysian. The Dionysian is about losing oneself to the fullness of life, whether that's through wine or dance or love or emotion, to be fully alive. And our culture has totally lost this and has discounted it as being important. If you've ever done a powerful psychedelic journey or have gotten totally lost into the creation of art and music and dance, you know the Dionysian. And the Dionysian is uninhibited. It is beyond this little ego and little self. It is an experience of something more primordial, something more transcendent. There was a mystery cult around Dionysus in ancient Greece, similar to other mystery cults across the Indo-European and classical world. And in these mystery cults, one of the chief aspects of them was the experience of initiation, of going into the other world. And I think this is what Dionysus represents to me. And accessing Dionysus, or the Dionysian, was very important to Nietzsche. In fact, he called himself the last true initiate of Dionysus. And I think we can learn something from him in this, is that most of us philosophical types or intellectuals or people into personal development out there, we have been corrupted by modernity. We are a very less embodied people. And also, we don't have these revelries and celebrations and festivals that once let us loose, that once helped us have this profound experience of being alive. And I think this is important, to be embodied again. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go out there and become some wild, crazy, hedonistic dancer, but I do think that learning to dance might be the missing key in all of our developments. I know it has been for me. Now, I started dancing 6 or 7 years ago after being invited to this thing called ecstatic dance, which is this silly thing that humans do of getting all together for 2 hours with a DJ and just dancing freeform without a rigid structure, but fully expressing yourself. And ecstatic dance actually has its roots in ancient Greece. Ecstatic means the full and overpowering state of emotion. And this is actually what dance allows for. It allows for the artistic expression of life. Oftentimes I feel dull. I feel fatigue. I feel frustration. I feel melancholy. And dance is like this time to get all those endorphins moving and actually like get into this altered state of consciousness. It's why almost every culture across the world, from African tribes people to Native Americans to ancient Greeks to Norse pagan barbarians, all danced at night around fires. It got you into this altered state where you had this ecstatic, connection with the gods, or for modern people, this ecstatic connection to the deep and subterranean emotional energy that is brewing under the surface of our conscious minds. And it has this opportunity to connect our body, our mind, and our hearts into this unified being. In order for this to happen, man must learn to be free in his body. And I know when I started doing ecstatic dance, I wasn't free at all. I was scared of raising my hands above my head for some absurd reason. I was scared of what other people would think about me. I didn't know really how to move yet. I moved in these very rigid patterns, and it just took the courage of like showing up week after week. I had no idea why I was going. It just felt scary, and it felt like a place where interesting people were. So I just kept going. And over the months and over the years, I became very fully free in my body to the point where I can dance in almost every occasion. And it feels amazing to be able to do this. In fact, dancing is the one time each week at Ecstatic Dance that I feel absolutely and totally alive in my body. And on top of that, through dance has been the closest I've ever come to having a psychedelic experience totally sober, dancing around the fire with my friends, freestyle rapping, like praying and devotion, like getting wild with it, doing warrior dances under the stars is one of the more trippy things you can do. And this is what our pagan ancestors did all the time. We are so repressed today, like in our stuffy collared suits, sitting in our sanitized deportments, disconnected from being weird. We don't want to be too loud. We don't want to be too much. We don't want to move. We don't want to express ourselves. We care what other people think. And if you actually want to be heroic and go against all this conformity and repression and stagnation of our culture, it's time to learn how to dance again. And I think this is really important for the holistic human being that we're trying to become. It's not just to be up here and intellectual. It's not just to be social. It's not just to be hardworking or whatever virtue you're trying to work on. It's to be complete. And to be complete means that you are a child of life itself. And this is what Nietzsche tried to elevate. I remember going to Ecstatic Dance a few months back, and I definitely didn't want to be there that day. I was feeling a lot of fatigue, a lot of frustration, and hurt and sadness from a relationship. And that day was a ceremony of self-overcoming, and that's what dance often is. It's like this spiritual practice of being in motion. Like you have to dance for a full hour, and even if you start feeling really tired, or you start feeling a feeling or a thought comes up that pulls you away from presence, it's about overcoming that and practicing the art of life. And this is why dance is such a beautiful metaphor. I remember walking away from that dance and just feeling so lit up, so inspired by this act of self-overcoming and this metaphor of how can I bring this into my work? I know in my work, and probably in yours too, all of a sudden I'll get distracted, or I'll be feeling tired and I just won't do the thing anymore, or won't train as hard as I should, or something like that. And from that one experience, it changed me for weeks. Until this day, I started trying to make videos in that playful spirit as if I was dancing. And in the dance practice, it's about responding to life with presence, with potency, with humor and playfulness in the best way you can. In fact, there's a great quote from Nietzsche that sums this up perfectly. And it goes, "Dancing in all of its forms cannot be excluded from the curriculum of all noble education. Dancing with the feet, with ideas, with words, and need I add, one must also be able to dance with the pen." And, from dancing every week, I just learned this art of being in motion better. And I think it's why it's so important for people who feel a lot of resistance, who maybe feel a lot of fatigue, who feel overwhelmed by things, is to learn to have a practice where you can process all of that and keep moving forward. And this motion of moving forward and responding to life well is where you get to truly express your yourself and your style. Also, newsflash for you, great dancing used to be an athletic display for men, and it was intimately linked with martial prowess. Bruce Lee said that martial arts is the honest expression of emotional content, and I think of living life and dancing well as something very similar. How do you express your essence into your style, into your movement, into your dance authentically? Most people don't have a style. They don't take the art of motion very seriously because they have forgotten how to dance. So let this be a wake-up call or maybe some inspiration for all of you wisdom warriors out there. I'm Christian. Thanks for watching so much. And before you leave, I got one last Nietzsche quote to leave you with. But before we get there, I want to briefly tell you about the Men's Academy. This is a place where like-minded men like you are gathering together in philosophy symposium, joining challenge groups, and leveling up into their most glorious lives. So if you're looking for your secret society online, this might be yours. There's a link in the description below to learn more. Okay, now to the quote. You cannot learn to fly by flying. First, you must learn to walk, to run, to climb, and to dance. Thanks for watching. You can click here for another Nietzsche video on why genius comes from possession. Peace.